All right, so we're up in here on the Stock Exchange according to this is Trump and GE. And DL Hughley roasts Janet Jackson for Kamala. So we're back at it again. The Democratic Party and Kamala Harris on the news again. Not for policy, of course, but for drama. There's more drama involving the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris. Never anything about policy or anything that resolves issues, just more drama and more back and forth. Now it involves Janet Jackson. So apparently Janet Jackson was being interviewed for The Guardian. They asked her about her career and her family, what she's up to, and they brought up politics, and particularly Kamala Harris. And journalists love controversy. Controversy sells. And whoever interviewed Janet Jackson definitely knew what she was doing. Maybe 2% of the interview was about Kamala, and that's the story. That's what's driving the headlines, what she said about Kamala. So now Janet Jackson's being ridiculed or being castigated because of comments she made about Kamala and her ethnicity. And that journalist knew exactly what she was doing, trying to get controversy. Bring Janet in to talk about her career and talk about her family and you know, what she's up to now, and have an excuse to talk about Kamala Harris. So this is somewhat of the interview. I'm going to read some of her comments here. And this is Janet, quote, well, there's all this child trafficking crap that's going on and sex trafficking crap, you know what I mean? That wasn't so prevalent then, end quote. It's a strange turnabout, not least because of the many allegations of child sexual abuse against Michael, but it also the most forceful she has been since we sat down. It says, quote, at least we didn't know about it back then. I don't think we did we? Not really. I think it's really now out in the open because it's a $1 billion business and all that crap. Then the interviewer says, I wonder what internet rabbit hole she's been going down. But before I can ask, she's moved on. And she's talking about her iconic album, Rhythm Nation. It says, quote, on the Rhythm Nation album, for us, it was about making a difference in a kid's life, a teenager's life, from them taking this path of drugs and going down the wrong street, or trying to make sense, to make something of themselves, end quote. On that record, she sang about joining voices and protest of social injustice and pushing toward a world rid of color lines. I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. After all, I say America will be on the verge of voting in its first black female president, Kamala Harris. It says, quote, well, you know what they supposedly said, she asked me, end quote. And this is quote again, she's not black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian, end quote. The interviewer says she looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. This quote, well, she's both, end quote, I offer. It says, quote, her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days, end quote, she calls. This is quote, I was told that they discovered her father was white, end quote. It says, I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when she was 5. And quote, my mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters, end quote, Harris wrote in her book, The Truth We Hold. So basically, Janet just says, well, you know what they supposedly said. She's not black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian. Her father, you know, that's all she said. She's not black. I heard she's Indian. So, and you know, we did a show on the fact that Trump thought Kamala was Indian. That's what Trump said, doing an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, that he thought she was Indian, and all of a sudden, she's black. She just turned black. The interview of Kamala, I think Dana Bash interviewed Kamala finally. Her and her vice president asked her about race. Kamala changed the subject. She wouldn't respond to the question of whether she was black or not. She refused to answer, which is her right. But that's basically it. And all these headlines about Janet said Kamala wasn't black. Now, D.L. Hughley, who did a great job during the Democratic National Convention, did a show on that too. That he told some jokes about Trump, which were hilarious. About Trump would need to buy the White House and refuse to rent it to Kamala to keep her out of the White House. I thought that was hilarious, and so on and so forth. But he's been shilling for the Democratic Party for years, and he got his chance to go to the Democratic National Convention. He did a great job, but now he's trolling. He's roasting Janet Jackson. So I'm going to share my screen some of his tweets. All right, so here he says, okay, here he says, all I know is Kamala looks like she did when she was in Oakland, but Janet don't. Look like she did when she was Penny. What the hell was in that iron? So he's saying that she looked like she did when she was in Oakland, but Janet didn't look like she did when she was Penny. She played Penny on Good Times, and I think her mother burned her with an iron, then Willona took her in. So he's talking about Janet's looks. All right? So her appearance looks different, and we know she's had plastic surgery. Okay, I'm going to share another tweet from DL. Okay, here he says, Kamala looks the way she does because she has a mom from India and a dad from Jamaica. Janet looks the way she does because she has a plastic surgeon. So he's talking about her plastic surgery. He's talking about their looks. What's it got to do with anything? Who knows? There's another tweet. Okay, and this tweet says, Janet Jackson's interview sounded like a Trump rally. FYI, it's a little ironic to question whether someone is black while you're breathing through the nose of a white woman. Okay. So he touches on Janet's ideology or her identity. So he talks about Kamala doesn't look differently, but Janet looks differently because she's a plastic surgeon. Talks about she had nose surgery, a nose job, and it's a nose like a white woman. And Kamala doesn't. What's it got to do with anything? Who knows? A couple things. First of all, the Jacksons are royalty. They're black royalty. There weren't that many people, blacks, who were in the media back when I was growing up. This is back in the 70s, right? And to be in the media back then, you were treated like royalty. You expected to carry yourself in a certain way. You expected to have a certain image on screen and off screen. And the Jacksons carried that. They carried that torch for black folks. I remember there was an album cover of the Jackson 5. Janet's brother, Michael Jackson, Tito, Marlon, Randy, so on and so forth, Jermaine. And so they were playing baseball. Showed all their interest outside of music, and they like to play baseball. They were playing softball, family gathering. And I would just stare at the album cover all the time. My whole family would. And we knew all the names of all these kids, what their zodiac sign was, and what their interest was, and so on and so forth. We like to play basketball, softball, so on and so forth. And they are black. They remain black royalty. These people are iconic. Not because of just the image, but their work ethic. No, you don't have to be a singer, but their work ethic. They worked hard at their craft. They were excellent at what they did. They were best at what they did, and they all of Black America was proud of the Jacksons. And then Penny was one of the younger kids, and she came up as an actress, and then went on to become a singer, and talked about Rhythm Nation. Everything she did was like, these people are iconic. And to try to roast Janet Jackson is the height of blasphemy, in my opinion. So I don't think it's going to work. Secondly, D.L. Hughley, we get it, D.L. You're Democratic. You're a Democrat. And you love Kamala. We got it. You hate Trump. When Trump was in office, you kept trolling Trump. And you're clearly shilling for the Democratic Party, which is your right. But you made your point. You are a Democrat, so you're not neutral. You're not just running around cracking jokes. You're cracking jokes on people who you think are Republican or people who don't pay a proper genuflection to the Democratic Party or to Kamala Harris or other prominent Democrats. Which makes me wonder how much are these people paying D.L. Hughley to say this stuff? Are you an employee or are you a neutral party just telling jokes? And lastly, the thing about his monologue on the Democratic National Convention, that was hilarious. I didn't watch the Democratic National Convention, but I watched his monologue. It was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. That was hilarious. This isn't funny. Just somebody saying stuff and clearly in favor of a political party. We don't need anybody telling us who to vote for or only telling jokes or trying to troll people who they think, again, aren't paying a genuflection to the Democratic Party. That's D.L. Hughley's job. That's how he gets paid, apparently, to shill for the Democratic Party. Janet Jackson doesn't get paid to shill for Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party. And she never really said she wasn't black. She said that's what she heard, that she was Indian. She's not black. People saying she's not black and that she's Indian. And Kamala wants to clear up the record. She can. She said ample opportunity to clear up the record about her color, whether she's black or her ethnicity, whether she's black or Indian. If Kamala won't do it, why does D.L. need to cape for her? Kamala's a grown woman. She can answer her own questions, and she can fend for herself. So that's D.L. Hughley roasts Janet Jackson for Kamala. Thank you for listening.